for your introduction, and I would like also to thank for our dear and loved organizers of this conference. I mean our friend from Turkey, especially to Hasser, Ahmed and Emrah, of course. And I would like to add that my presentation is rather a kind of maybe experiment, perhaps even a risky one, since I rely on Polish translations of Suleiman's poems dedicated to Hurrem, and I further translate them into English. So, yet in a way, this makes it possible to show that certain ornaments in poetry, such as, for example, flowers, stars, moon, and so on, are universal, but in the language of poetry of love, both in the north and in the south. However, the shape poem ultimately takes, and the moon it evokes don't depend on these common motifs, but on the way how they are employed. So I will start by showing you two portraits, two greatest poets, Jan Kochanowski and Suleiman the Magnificent. This is not contemporary to Kochanowski image, of course, but it was created by Tytus Maleszewski in 19th century. Suleiman the Great, or the Magnificent, as he was called by posterity, is sometimes referred to as the Great Turk or the Love Giver. In the opinion of his contemporaries, his descendants, and many European historians, he fully deserved this title. He left to this successor the largest state the Turks had even ruled. Moreover, it was administered efficiently and justly, with flourishing trade and refined culture. Many European monarchs looked upon his empire with envy. Suleiman reigned from 1520 to 1566. It is impossible to know how the fate of Europe, especially the region in which we live, might have unfolded had death not overtaken this skilled ruler of the sword, while he was marching to conquer our continent and had already penetrated deep into Hungary. Out of 37 Ottoman sultans, as many as 18 wrote poetry. This number also takes into account poetically gifted members of their extended families. A striking example is the family of Suleiman the Magnificent, in which 5 of his sons also engaged in this art. However, the poetry of the father is regarded as the finest. Even Suleiman's father, Selim the Grim, also composed verse. He wrote poetry in Persian, while his Persian rival and monarch composed poem in Turkish. Moreover, many aristocrats maintained in their court circles of artists, miniaturists, goldsmiths, and also poets. Sometimes these patrons, inspired by the court poets, themselves took up the pen. The first crown Ottoman poet is considered to be Sultan Murad II. Yet it was truly Suleiman the Great who was a genuinely talented poet, and in his spare time a goldsmith as well. It is believed that he may have authored around 3,000 poems. In his poetry, the Sultan used the pen name Muhibbi, which means the lover. Only a small number of his manuscripts survive, since most were immediately copied by its numerous scribes. The carefully calligraphed poems of the Sultan were richly adorned with miniatures. The Sultan also composed in Persian and even in Arabic. At his court and under his patronage were found, among many others, two great poets of the Turkish language, Fuzuli and Baki. It is thought that in today's staircase only a few thousand, or rather a few hundred people were able to read and fully understand Suleiman's original poetry. The poet most often composed relatively short gazelles and occasionally rabiat and fards. Suleiman's gazelles differ in both styles and message from earlier works of this type created within the Persian cultural sphere. In Suleiman's poems, we do not find laments over the beloved's fickleness, betrayal, or the cruelty of fate. One may therefore assume that Roxolana, Hürrem, was for the Sultan a muse close to the ideal, his beloved wife for decades. Some of his gazelles are simply letters addressed to her. The fact that this was so, it's confirmed that by Roxolana's loving poetry replies. The Sultan has nothing to complain about, except perhaps longing for his wife, and he did not complain. The gazelle in Islamic countries and in India is regarded as a lyrical or mystical dialogue with the beloved or with the beloved. The form must follow a precise poetic structure that stems from centuries of tradition. According to this tradition, a gazelle consists of a sequence of several or something a dozen of more couplets bound by rules known as Beher, Matla, Makta, Kafiya, and Radif. Asher is a shown two-line poem, sometimes thematically independent of the next couplet. Thus, a gazelle is essentially a collection of couplets, each with an internal structure. Beher refers to the rhythmical pattern of Asher. Both lines of Asher must share the same meter, and all shares in a gazelle must conform to that same rhythm. Radif requires that the second line of every share end with the same word. Kaifa dictates that the words immediately preceding the radif must rhythm. Matla prescribes that the opening share of the gazelle must establish this rhythm and refrain. Finally, Makta requires that the poet's pen name or sobriquet appear in the closing couplet. Nearly all of the great gazelle poets observe this rule, and for that reason, many of them are better known by their chosen pen names than by their real ones. I need a water, okay? Okay. Thank you. What we can see then, that the gazelle is a highly intricate form, governed by strict rhythm and repeated K words. Its structure made it extraordinary melodic, easy to memorize, and delightful to recite, so much so that it was cherished not only by the refined psyches of poetry lovers, but also by ordinary people who were often drawn in by its wit and playful charm. And now I would like to present our poets, but the first one is Jan Kochanowski. She was born in 1530 in Sycyna, died in August 22, 1584 in Lublin. He was Polish-Renaissance poet, translator, a provost of the Poznań Cathedral chapter, court poet of Stefan Batory, royal secretary to Sigismund August II, and Stefan Batory as well. Wojski of Sandomierz, it is a traditional local official responsibility for order, defense, and military campaigns and so on, from 1579 to 1584. He is regarded as one of the most outstanding writers of the Renaissance in Europe, not only in Poland, and the poet who contributed most to the development of Polish literature and language. He was educated both in Poland and abroad. He studied at the Kraków Academy as well as the University of Padua. In the meantime, he may also have attended a German university in Leipzig or Wittenberg, since it is known that he stayed in Wrocław, from where he could have set out in that direction. He also recited in Königsberg, thanks to a scholarship from Albrecht Hohenzollern, and in France. Kochanowski mastered Latin, in which he wrote extensively, as well as Greek, which enabled him to work on translation of ancient works, such as poem of Aratus. He also knew German and Italian. Although Kochanowski and Suleiman the Magnificent came from entirely different culture and therefore poetic traditions, some scholars point to connections between Kochanowski's love poetry and Oriental models. This is particularly evident in the ornamentation of both poets' erotic verse. They employ similar imaginary, make use of conventional epithets, yet at the same time avoid banality, producing poetry that is refined, and although thought it may be a surprise, the range of stylistic devices they used is not especially large. Suleiman transformed the traditional models of love poetry, for he described a love fulfilled. The address of these verses was his wife, Hurrem Sultan, known in Poland as Roxolana. By contrast, in the works of his predecessors, mentioned above, the themes most often celebrated were the woes of love and the fleetness or faithlessness of woman, from whom the devoted heart of man was never sacrificed enough. In these poems, the woman appears above all as calculating materialist, seeking not only the admiration of her lover, but above all the jewels, riches that would secure her wealth. Suleiman's poetry dedicated to Hurrem carries an entirely different messages. Thought ruler of the world, he portrays himself through the figure of a beggar, one from whom all the riches he possesses are worthless, since the greatest treasure a man can obtain in sensory and reciprocated her love. This makes the Sultan's poetry profoundly universal, as it speaks directly to the deepest longing on every human being. Suleiman's poetry is full of warmth of passion. He describes the subjects of his feelings in concrete ways, employing figures and metaphors that are intrinsically also found in the biblical poetics, like in Songs of Songs. His beloved Hürrem is thus slender as a cypress, while the enamored Suleiman and his heart are entangled in her curls. Suleiman tenderly depicts her dance and her blood stride, as well as her love, which is valuable also from a biographical perspective. That poetry is, of course, a work of fiction. It nonetheless seems possible that in these verses one may glimpse shared moments between the Sultan and his beloved. Some of the poems take the form of letters addressed to his beloved. Letters, moreover, that did not go unanswered. Hürrem too wrote verse epistles to Suleiman. In them, he appears as a falcon, free and mightily, swooping suddenly upon his enemies who are powerless and to defeat him. Yet, the dominant note of her verse letters is longing for her beloved and yearning for reunion. I mentioned the stylistic devices employed by Kochanowski and Suleiman above, describing them. So I would like describing them like rather conventional. What accounts for this conventionality and certain modesty, this economy of expression in both poets? The first thing that stands out is that although Suleiman's represent the culture of the ornate, refined Orient, his poetry is no way overloaded with epithets or elaborate description. Like the Polish master Kochanowski, is sparing in describing the object of his affection. Specific examples of the stylistic economy include the description of the beloved appearance. And now I would like to show you. This is my own collection, which embraces how both poets, Kochanowski and Suleiman, describes and calls his affect, his love, and also the object of this love. So we may compare these two poets. Kochanowski calls his love as sometimes as białogłowa or pani, which is equal to mulier domina in classic poetry. Panna, dzieweczka, dziewka, which is equal to puella in Latin poetry. Podwika, it is a kind of metaphor, because podwika in on Polish means a kind of band of worn by women. So it is a kind of a metaphor, pars pro toto, as I mentioned here. And also baba. We find also some epithets for these words. So we have białogłowa, nauczona, which means having knowledge, have some skills. Nieużyta, unmoved, constant, unyielding. Pani wszechpiękniejsza, dziewka śliczna, nadobna, beautiful, lovely, gorgeous, but also sroga, which means severe, fierce, or zapamiętała. So, with unrestrained in emotion, wszeteczna, meretricus. And when we look at the Suleiman's part, we see some similarities, but but his description is more rich than in Kochanowski, and more romantic, and so on. And next part of my comparison, how the both poets describes love. As well, Kochanowski, as well Suleiman, tells about the fire, the arrow of love. So it's taken from the Greek mythology, but also, and it is very, very often motive, as a madness, szaleństwo in Polish. And Suleimans often present himself like a poor beggar, need mercy from his lady, and so on. And sometimes such motifs we may find also in Kochanowski's poetry. And how the posture and about the image of detailed of image of beloved woman. We may see how Kochanowski and how Suleiman describe the face, eyes, voice or laugh, lips, hair, and generally posture, body, and hands, feet, and such details. So we may find here some common points. I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation that Suleiman's refers to flowers, stars, and we find also these elements in Kochanowski poetry, especially according to eyes, lips, very, very similar motifs. But I would like to give the floor Kochanowski and Suleiman itself, not only for me. That's why I would like to present two poems in translation into English. Kochanowski do Magdaleny, Ukaż mi się Magdaleno, and so on. Show me Magdalena, show me your face, a face that almost expresses the rose of both. Show me your flowing golden hair, show me your eyes equal to the stars that turn the swift circles of heaven. Show me your graceful lips, your rosy lips, full of pearls. Show me your breast moderately spent, and the alabaster hand in which is enclosed my heart. Oh foolish, oh mad thoughts, what do I desire? What I am, wretched one, standing for? Looking at you, I have lost all my power. I'm speechless. A secret flame roams over me, a sound in my ears, and a double night descends upon my eyes. And now, Suleiman. It is also based on translation, as I meant. So this is a kind of experiment, because Arabic, Turkish, and Persian poetry is very characteristic, but I will tell also about it. But first, I would like to present the translation of one of the Gazelles of Suleiman. From the scent of amber in her hair, I've lost my mind again. My heart is tangled once more with her untruly curse in a chain. Today, I ask my friends what I'm to do what am I to do with me? They trapped their foreheads, meaning, mad, I've gone completely vain. My poor heart is twisted, knotted, just like her dark locks. Is there a cure for such madness? I asked, as reason mocks. She dwells within my heart with 1,000 tender charms. I look around it helplessness. Alas, with leaves it blacks. And people ask, who stole the heart of Muhibitru? It was her curse, her ruby lips, that made me lose my view. Okay. So, I mentioned that some of the stylistic feature is rather universal. For example, the beloved lips always appear red, laughing. The figure is slender, the eyes black, the eyebrows similarly, and the breast shapely. Both poets readily employ the symbolism of flowers, particularly the conventional symbolism of the white lily and the red rose, deeply rooted in tradition. The former represents purity, innocence, freshness, and theof, with the latter, by the way of counterbalance, is an equivalent of passion and love loading to madness. And this aforementioned madness of love is another common element in Suleiman's and Kochanowski depicts of emotion. Both describe love as a state, if not identical, then certainly close to madness. This is, of course, a generalization, very difficult to avoid in a short presentation, but what can I do? I am thinking if I must repeat the truism that love describes by poets everywhere, regardless of cultural background, use similar language. But as I mentioned, it depends how the poet mix these common motifs. Let us see how it looks like in Kochanowski's poetry and then in the Suleiman. So I write you these two poems. To conclude, we have in Poland a proverb, diabeł tkwi w szczegółach. In translation, the devil is in the details. But here, the devil lies not so much in the details as in the way they are used, composed, mixed, and fixed. Thank you for your attention, but I would like also mention that Natalia says me a few words yesterday about the Turkish, Persian, and Arabic poetry. And frankly speaking, there is no possibility to make a faithful translation from the Turkish, Persian, or Arabic language into Polish or English. Why? Because even two words in their neighborhood can change its meaning. And she sent me also such fragment by Bendek Petri, and he analyzed Suleiman's poetry to Hurrem. So, thank you very much.